the last subject. So I'm going to start, Parvesh, with you because multiple years again in Tamil Nadu, and one of the things that you're focusing on is the high tech technology driven hydrogen ecosystem, which can help this country propel into an export house, as well as the initiative around the sustainability targets for India. Two questions, very quick ones. One is the how part of it. How do you think that can actually create India can become the hub? And the second is why Tamil Nadu?
I think you have touched my, let's say, very issues which are very close to my heart. Yeah, and especially the sustainability and green part. We are hearing a lot of this discussion on green hydrogen nowadays. I am from Howden Chart Industries. Basically, we have core technologies for hydrogen with us. We are part of the whole hydrogen cycle. Now, I can tell you that these technologies are really, I would say they are not normal. They are with our parent organization. So what I was doing was we were just discussing at a management level to bring those technologies in India and bring those those core technologies is compression technology, other is liquefaction technology, and third is dispensing technology. So all three technologies are we are having those things. Now, having said that, I believe, and from my past working experience in some other organizations, it's very clear that India, with advantages of qualified manpower and domestic demand, we can be a real game changer. So my plan is twofold. One is to make use of domestic demand to just roll the implementation of those technologies, especially on compression side and liquefaction side, and then use that ground which we have built for serving the markets outside. Yeah. What we have seen is a change in the global perspective. The manufacturing is shifting to low-cost countries like India. And if we are able to establish a credible source of those critical technologies, India can be a real hub for exports of those equipment. Now, as regards to demand is concerned, we were just doing a quick number crunching. What we have found is that if India is, we are discussing 5 million tons of hydrogen production by 2030 or something. Even if, let's say, we take 1/5 of that, 1 million ton, which is not a very optimistic number, still the amount of equipment what you need, and I'm again talking about those critical equipment, is you don't have it anymore anywhere. Even if you add the capacities around the world, you don't have it. Yeah? So that means we need to establish those things here if we want to be self-sustaining on critical technologies, on hydrogen piece here, and then if you add the export market, it is simply multiplying. And it has got another impact is regarding employment generation. See, India is a source of qualified manpower. I think a lot is said about Tamil Nadu. So I'm just coming there. Why Tamil Nadu? Is because here you find qualified people, not only on engineering level, but even at a working level, which is basically a technicians and all those kind of things, which makes it easier for you to multiply faster. We also need a port, proximity to the port, because of the fact that a lot of hydrogen plants will be around on the coastal area. So we need to have access to those, even if producing plants are there, we can export our equipment to those plants or even abroad. So we have it here. The stable labor's position is there. We don't see too many labor unrests which are disrupting the factories. So that is one very big advantage which I see here. So all in all, if there is some kind of, let's say, small administrative support, if government is able to provide, this place can be a hub for hydrogen as well. People were talking about hub for electronics, for hub for EVs. Yeah, I'm saying why not hub for hydrogen? Because there's a real possibilities for it to happen.
Thank you. That's very interesting. With growth in the demand for hydrogen, I think it's a great space. Dr. Kiran, I'll come to you as the next. I know you run a GCC, and one of the bigger drivers in the most of the cities in South, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, and all these places have been the GCCs, proliferation of that. But GCC's basic lifeline is the talent. I keep on hearing about 150,000 engineering graduates and postgraduates. But what is that is exactly required to make the GCC much more functional, effective, and contribute to the growth in the state? Or for example, for your firm also, why it is important and how it becomes important with respect to the talent?
Thank you, Innocent. A warm welcome to all of you. And it's really a wonderful initiative by the Tamil Nadu government. I mean, they've been doing the gym and bringing in all of us together as corporates, academia, and several other stakeholders who continue to abet and grow economic empowerment of the communities. So coming to the question of GCCs, yes, it's true. When we talk about Tamil Nadu, for instance, the global capability centers, what is the connection? I'll step back and look at it from three different angles. The first angle I'm going to look at is foreign direct investment. So when we talk about FDI, when does FDI really come into any country? It happens when there is that environment which enables and fosters the growth and empowerment. So today, when we talk about India, or when we look back a decade ago when all this journey commenced, it's so clear that we are so poised as an economy, as a country, because ease of doing business, I think right from the ministers, everybody have been talking about it. So from the FDIs, whenever you see that the environment is ripe from the infrastructure capability and skills, or the talent, as we said, and that's where the connect you just made about the 150,000 engineering students or technology students emerging, or several others. We're just talking about technology because from a UPS standpoint, yes, we're looking at technology center, but we can talk about manufacturing. So any industry domain, do we have the necessary raw material? From a talent perspective, it is, are there enough grads and undergrads available? Yes, we do. I think that is the lynch point. And then if I start looking at the second angle, which is, if I say foreign direct investment is coming in, what is the potential for GCCs from an India standpoint, and then the state of Tamil Nadu? As per EY report, by 2030, which is just 6 years from now, India is going to have 2,400 GCCs. That's not a small number. 2,400 is huge. And it also mentions that there's a potential to increase it to 2,550. That itself clearly opens the door for the third angle, which I'll come to. But before I go there, we're talking so much about GCCs, or the global capability centers. Do we know what's the GDP contribution of these GCCs? It's definitely more than 1% of the GDP of the country. So it's phenomenally high. And imagine India talking about the $1 trillion economy, or Tamil Nadu state making the clarion call and saying by 2030 we're going to be $1 trillion economy. That's huge. And what can GCCs contribute? It's a lot. Now, as we've talked about these factors, Now, I look at it from the job creation and skill development. And that's exactly where companies like ours are hungry, and we are really interested in setting our footprint here. Because if you don't have talent, then your industry is dead. So we do have the talent available. And the interesting aspect is when we say talent available, it's not just the engineering colleges we're talking about. We're talking about tier two, tier three across the state, not just the high end tier one like the IITs we talked about, or as Chris mentioned earlier, Anna University and so on, VITs. There's so many of them, but you also have talent available across the spectrum. And what does it help us? It's almost like, we talk about, it's like somebody talked about mining industry earlier. So it's about just as you mine for a particular product, here we're mining talent. So industries like ours are mining talent. What do? We hone talent, we shape talent, we nurture talent. It's not like as they're coming out of those schools, they have all the requisite skills for the industry. But the talent is open enough to be continuous learners. So the way they're being shaped today with the industry institute interaction, which again a state like Tamil Nadu, the flagship program of the state which is unveiled, Nan Mudalvan scheme for instance, I'm very proud to say UPS has partnered with the government on the Nan Mudalvan scheme, and we started bringing in interns who are in their final year of engineering. Now that's going to help us because it's two-way. It's a win-win for the student, it's a win-win for the industry, because the student is going to understand what processes and technologies exist, what can they learn, and they'll have a buddy manager, and they go along, walk along for 6 months. That's a good amount of time for them to get the exposure to the technological processes of the company. And then we are also merited because at the end of it, they come back and join us full time. So programs like these, which are unique, where the government joins hands and creates the ecosystem, which really fosters relevant, talent mining, as I say, is going to really make the GCCs flourish. And that's where I look at this from a three-pronged angle.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Kiran. I think in very detail you have mentioned, and I'll come back to you on the talent and the early talent stages of the kids where you are actually signed up with the Tamil Nadu government. But before that, so while Pravesh spoke about the infrastructure, industry, manufacturing, and we have the GCC talking about talent and service, I think where MasterCard you are working is on the ground level, grassroots, at the rural level, and all those things. Tell me, how does that grassroots level working with the financial inclusion integration is creating an ecosystem which can drive indirectly the growth of the state, okay? Because I can't actually say it's a direct one, but it's indirectly how it's growing. So is there something which you can actually help us with the proof points and the work you are doing?
So, first of all, being a proud Chennaiite, I feel thrilled sitting here in the midst of all of you. And whether it's the federal government or the state government, comes into the mainstream. And how do you do that? That is only through technology and, through digital inclusion. It's a huge eye-opener, guys. So currently, India accounts for 40% of the digital transactions that happen in the globe. And we have, 76% of our population who actually have access to mobile phones. So what are we actually talking here? We are trying to create an ecosystem where you're bringing various silos in an integrated manner, and you ensure that, the resultant prosperity. You're talking about economic growth, right? So prosperity is not an aspiration. It has to be an imperative. Each and every citizen has to, have access to the benefits that this economic growth brings about. So just to, bring in what MasterCard is doing on the financial inclusion front. So with respect to agriculture, we are creating a digital agri ecosystem. We call it Farm Pass. The idea is, to bring the suppliers, then the input manufacturers, then the people from the demand side, as also, an important key is the financial institutions. See, if you look currently, many of the farmers do not have access to formal credit. And one of the reasons is, they don't have proper accounting books or, book of accounts. So if you actually have a platform, where these transactions are digitized, and probably financial institutions can then take a call. You can go in for invoice discounting. So here you are actually talking about a platform, which end-to-end integrates the farmer with, the people who are actually going in for the offtake, and you're doing away with the intermediaries. Right now, in India, one of the challenges is that there's a lot of commission that is eaten by the middlemen. So how is it that you get, a poor farmer to get better realization of price for his agri commodity? So that is, a kind of a creation of an end-to-end ecosystem. So this is with regard to agriculture. Then again, talking about some of the main focus areas of the government, most of our cities are, kind of bursting at the seams. And the government says that, the objective of transit should not be about moving vehicles, it is about moving people. So how do you actually get people to use public transport? So government as part of, then you go for the train. But how is it, that probably an entity like MasterCard, we are working globally to enable account-based ticketing services. So, using any card of any bank, you can just tap and go. You don't need to have a separate transit card. And when you talk about convenience of transactions, another thing that is, a burning issue today is that there's a lot of issues with regard to cyber security. So sometimes, people who are actually using a digital mode of transaction there's always a worry at the back of your mind. You keep looking to see whether, the transaction has actually hit the beneficiary account or not. And in some of the locations, even now, in India, you have a challenge with regard to speed of internet. So cyber security is another emphasis, where we have MasterCard as its own, cyber security measures. We are incidentally working with a couple of state governments, to power their e-com and their cyber security policy. So these are a couple of the initiatives. Another thing that I could kind of think of is, if you have a small retailer, right, who currently doesn't have access to a financial institution, what the government is actually doing is, they're very, it's been a very innovative thought process. You have something known as citizen, service centers, CSCs. So in India, irrespective of where you live, you have a Kirana shop initiative, where MasterCard is working on your offline capability in POS terminals. You need not necessarily have internet to kind of back up the transaction. So just to summarize, to what Mr. Murthy asked, it is necessary that each citizen is brought into the formal economy, and not that the contribution that the economic growth is generating for the country, that once again needs to trickle back to the grassroots. So technology has a huge role to play there.
Thanks, Anand. I think so. We have as a panel, we are becoming a little boring. So I think people are sleeping. A couple of them. I just wanted to wake up everyone. So Pravesh, I'm going to ask a little interesting question, and so is Anand, and this is out of the syllabus questions. Okay, so that everyone actually doesn't sleep off. And we have not had our lunch also, by the way. So we need to be very careful on that. So, but what do you need? What is your 3 asks from the state, which will help you put up this entire hydrogen ecosystem in the state and proliferate that? Just let's not say only a Tamil Nadu. So, for example, any state government, for that matter, what is that 3 asks as an industry which will help you to actually build this ecosystem? Very quickly, so that we will finish off this round.
Yeah. So I think the first and foremost is ease of doing business. And when I say ease of doing business, it is a faster way of doing business. We being multinational company, we are not able to handle the maze of government. And I would like that there is somebody from the government, a face of government is to me available, whom I can address, and then within the maze of the government, that face is working in. That's very important for us, and especially, especially companies like us, who are not used to these kind of bureaucracy. So that's one very, very important thing. Second thing is infrastructure. Yeah, the infrastructure improvements, for example, the roads structure, handling the heavy, let's say, when I come from manufacturing, I always say heavy piece handling, So you need to have a lot of permissions which are required. If they are available, if some kind of system is available, it's easier for us to make that area as a hub. And the third thing is the stability in the rules and regulations, because the investments are huge, and if rules are changing every day, then there is a problem. So I think these are quickly come to my mind.
Thanks, Bhavesh. Dr. Kiran, I'll come to you. I have said that there's one question which I wanted to ask you. The 150,000 people we are talking about, these are raw talent, right? So even if they are moved from an engineering college, they're not industry ready. So they can't be. The X to the Y, there is that element. How, as a firm, you're looking at making them ready for your work? Is there something which the state should, or any, not just this state, but any state should actually invest into making them ready for GCC in particular?
A beautiful question, Anison. Whenever we're talking about GCCs, it's an intersection of creating the right environment, as I said. So that ecosystem has, like the Chennai Trade Center, if I just take that acronym CTC, I would say it as CTTC, which is customers, technology, talent, and communities. So if I look at that, now how do I look at each one of these facets? If I need to grow at GCC and be successful at it, from a talent perspective, it's almost like a catch-22, right? If I have customers, then I have business. If I have business, then I will be able to create and invest in communities. Because if I don't invest in communities, the raw talent, as you're saying, that's where I use the word talent mining. There's no way I get them ready off the shelf kind of products. I need to invest in the communities we are part of and see what kind of skills, because I can't expect the academia to be continually evolving like the industry. Then there won't be any curriculum. It will be always evolving and dynamic, and it will be crazy in terms of the faculty or others to keep pace with it. So that is not the moot point. The moot point is you need to have some core skills or fundamental skills or the basics, as we say, and that's what the academia should be geared towards. And once you have that final or the foundational layer on that industry, each one of us as the stakeholders start honing the talent and shape and nurture them for the industry readiness. And now, is that the gap within 6 months through an internship program, which I talked about? Is that doable? Maybe, may not be. Is there something else we can do? Yes. Within the organizations, we continue to start investing very early on, because that's the engagement industry does with the various communities. So what we do is, at UPS, for instance, we started doing working with MSMEs, because if I want to grow my customers, I also have to grow the communities. So MSMEs is where we started looking at women in particular. So we have huge flagship programs globally and especially in India, where we started looking at how do we bring up these women exporters. So we train them, there's a boot camp, and how does it really enable the entire ecosystem? So the women exporters are now going to become stronger, and they will learn the skills of empowerment and exporting. What does it, because they may not even have a digital infrastructure. I think my learned friends were talking about it. Just as a country, today I think everyone is looking at India specifically because we have created such a beautiful DPI, the digital public infrastructure. Multiple tools today in the DPI segment. So similarly, if we can continue to build on that, but leverage it, not everybody will be able to leverage it. My friend from MasterCard talked about how he brings in financial inclusion, right from the farmers. So similarly, a women exporter understands how does she learn to leverage the digital physical infrastructure. Then begins the story of adding more exporters, and we are in the logistics industry, and one of the world's we are the largest in the world with $100 billion clocking annually. So it is the largest, from a logistics, and we offer unparalleled logistics experience to our customers. And we want to create the same thing, because if our engineers cannot imagine and get reinvigorated, so what we do is our smart facility, for instance, what it does is it improves upon. And how does that happen? It's our technology. It could be our students who can sometimes, get that aha moment and say, oh my God, I can just make this happen. So it's not just about robotics and automation, but beyond that, the human intellect, leveraging AI, but AI is again in terms of the patterns which you continually build on. So what we are doing is we're bringing in this early, exposing students and tier 3 colleges as well, not just tier 1. That's why I'm saying we're very inclusive in terms of bridging that gap in terms of where the talent is. So we go where the talent is. Just as a company chooses to go where the customers are and create markets, we're also creating talent markets. I think that's how we bridge the gap and continue to hone on building the CTTC, as I said, customers, communities, talent, and technology.
Very beautifully said, Doctor. So last 60 seconds belongs to you, Anand.
You want me to sing a Tamil song?
No, absolutely not. You can actually use the podium there to actually exhibit your skills. But here I would like to ask the last 60 seconds to focus on what the other panel also spoke about, the startups. Because if you're doing a financial inclusion, if you're doing it at the ground level.
So we also have something known as a community pass. So community pass, is a platform that works exclusively for MSMEs and for startups. So what we do here is, we try and, help them to commercialize those particular ideas. So we bring them, in touch with PE funds, with VC investors. And we as MasterCard, we see as to how is it that we can genuinely add value to these people to ensure that, the dream, the seed that they have sown actually is growing in the direction and is getting commercialized into a viable product proposition.
So we conclude this session. Thank you so much, Pravesh, Anand, and Dr. Kiran. So this was whatever limited time we had interaction. And please feel free to reach out to them after the session, and we can answer a few of the other questions there. Thank you so much, panel.
Thank you so much.